Hi, I am so glad that you are about to embark on a great adventure, what Kevin O'Brien calls the Ignatian adventure, several months together in the Ignatian exercises. You have just received from me a few things that will help you on this journey, and I want to provide just a little bit of explanation about them. The template for daily prayer is a series of 5 steps that you can follow every time the schedule for the Ignatian exercises mentions the prayer template. The order that they're listed in takes about 30 minutes, but you could spend as long as you want to with this. It could take as much as an hour if you gave it that. Let me just briefly walk through that. And so we begin with a couple minutes in the long, loving gaze of God. On the first day of the first week, I'll have you participate in a much longer version of this. And then the rest of the time when you see this on the prayer template, you're just invited to take a couple of minutes of silence and to picture God beholding you in great love. And then 3 minutes naming your desire or grace. And we will be using what Kevin O'Brien provides in his book, The Ignatian Adventure, for each week. In the weeks, there is a desire that we're supposed to have that is tied to the theme for that week. And so I've noted this in the schedule. 10 minutes in examine. Examine is a way of just sort of going back through the day that's just passed and looking afresh at it. Each week, I'll provide 2 questions that you can use to review the day that has just passed. And these 2 questions tie back into the theme for the week. Reflection. Many times there'll be a biblical text for you to reflect on. Ignatius talks about 2 ways of doing this. One is called meditation, and that's sort of like Lectio Divina, where we read a text and we think about a word or a phrase that catches our attention and we reflect on that. The second way is contemplation, and for the most part, that's what we'll be doing in the Ignatian exercises. Contemplation is trying to allow yourself to fully inhabit the biblical text, to see what's happening in the text, to hear what might be happening in that narrative, to smell the smells, taste the tastes, and to fully inhabit that text. And then as you do, to pay attention to what you notice in that text. And then it finishes with what Ignatius calls the triple colloquy. He believed it could be very helpful to speak to God, in his version, to speak to Mary, and then to speak to God the Father and speak to God the Son. The way we'll be practicing this is to have a brief prayer at the end of our time each day, either to God as Father, or to God as Son, or to God as the Holy Spirit. And so every time you see prayer template on the schedule, that's what you'll be doing. I've also provided the outline of Ignatian exercises and everything that you're going to need for the preparation period, which is 6 weeks long. And so each week you'll see the grace or the desire and the pages in O'Brien where that's listed, the theme for the week, 2 examine questions, and then each day I give you something to do, either participate in an exercise that I provided or to spend some time in contemplation using the prayer template on a specific text. And so you just follow those. Friday the 18th is when this begins, and the following Friday will be our first group spiritual direction. And the other thing that you've received from me is a couple of chapters from Larry Warner's book on the Ignatian exercises that gives some advice as to how we might posture ourselves as we come together to reflect on these Ignatian exercises in group spiritual direction. So be sure to read those chapters in the Larry Warner PDF before our group spiritual direction. The first one of those will be on September 25. Please reach out to me, chrisaltrock@gmail.com. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them. I'm super thrilled that you're engaging in this adventure.